you're saying that you don't understand, and it sounds like it, right? Because this is something that's going to help us with our national security. And elections do have consequences.
I said that, and I said the right way to do that.
I'm speaking right now.
Go ahead.
We watched as to where this concern is.
Greenland? Is that what you're saying?
Does it look like we're attacking Greenland?
The vice president said today that that would not happen.
And the president said we need Greenland no matter what.
But hold on, this is what I want to say.
And I'm sorry, right now, the people in Greenland have said they don't want to be associated with the United States. Mr. President, they said no. No means no.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this panel. I actually have a lot to say. They touch on a few different subjects, so let's get right into it and we'll talk about it.
This is the vice president's reaction to a place that doesn't really want him there.
It's cold as shit here. Nobody told me.
Greenland's cold, but not as cold as the reception Vice President J.D. Vance received when he got there. Remember, President Trump has been beating the drum that the U.S. will take over the nation, citing national security interests. That's not going over well with Greenland. Danish TV reports when American officials went door to door looking for residents to welcome a visit from Vance and the Second Lady, everyone to a person said no. But if you haven't noticed, the rhetoric about taking over is getting sharper and more forceful.
We have to have Greenland. It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can't.
We can't just ignore the president's desires. Our message to Denmark is very simple. You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland. The president said clearly he doesn't think that military force is going to be necessary. This has to happen. We have no other option.
Mike Leon is back at the table with us now. I mean, I guess the question is, are we a serious nation saying this has to happen and we're going to take Greenland? I'll start with you, Mike.
I was going to say, you turned to the right person because I wrote a 7th grade book report on Greenland. That's a joke, Sarah. I did not write a 7th grade book report on Greenland. I learned
right before this segment, too.
56,000 people right that live there. Look, elections have consequences, everybody, okay? The Trump administration, I know he didn't run on Panama Canal, he didn't run on Greenland, he didn't run on some of these things, and some of these things are being sprung up. They have a different policy position towards what is happening in that region and China and Russia's influence. You and I may not agree with it. This is their policy position towards it. I don't like the optics of what's happening right now with the vice president going over there. I don't know why we're doing that. But this is something that he has talked about. What we all should be scared about is what you said. We're pissing off, Chuck would say, an ally, somebody that we're supposed to be with in NATO, in Denmark. And that's the issue. It's making us insulated as a country because this is President Trump's policy position. And it played out in that signal text chain. I'd love to add you all to my signal text chain after this. Like, it played out in that text chain where it said we don't really want to work and play nice with Europe, if you recall. This is part of this.
Wait, Maria, before you jump in, let me give you 2 facts about Greenland, then y'all can argue about if this is smart or if this is dumb. Look, y'all should know that Greenland was settled by the Vikings. I don't know how many of y'all ever watched the Vikings TV show. You don't mess with Vikings. The second thing I want to tell you is these people eat fermented shark as a delicacy every day. If you've ever smelt fermented shark as a fisherman, you don't want to mess with these people. They may not be as big a pushover as you may think they are. I'm just saying. Now, argue away.
That was in my book report.
So to that point, but first to Mike's point. Yes, elections have consequences. And the consequences that we're seeing now is that we're becoming an idiocracy. Because I cannot understand for the life of me why Trump is doing this. Yes, this has some national security interests, but somebody who actually knows how to govern and knows how to lead in a global society, which we live in, would actually go to Greenland and talk to them and talk to Denmark the way that they have said and negotiate something. Isn't he supposed to be a magician, master negotiator? Negotiate something where the United States, if they believe we need more bases or we need more of a presence there, then negotiate that and invest in it that way. Don't go in there, guns a-blazing, saying we need to take over, because they are making us the ultimate in not just ugly Americans, but fugly Americans. And it's not something that is going to help us do what we need to do across the world with our allies and even with our adversaries.
Kimberly, I'm going to let you jump.
She's exactly right. They keep talking about national security. It's for our national security. Okay. First off, I don't believe that to be true. But even if it was, let's just say it is. Why wouldn't you try diplomacy? Why wouldn't you look for or ask them what are their sore points, what are some issues the country is going through, and help them out that way. And it would probably be less costly than going into war with this country and wiping them out. Like, are these people insane? And then how do our allies look at that? How does Canada and Mexico, on top of how we're already treating them with these stupid tariffs, treating our biggest allies, our biggest trade partners like garbage? How do you think this looks when we take over Greenland? Do you think that helps us? Do you think that helps our national security and the rest of our allies in the world? Does it look like a country that they want to be associated with or trust? Like, are these people stupid?
Yeah, you're saying that you don't understand, and it sounds like it, right? Because this is something that's going to help us with our national security. And elections do have consequences.
I said that, and I said the right way to do that.
I'm speaking right now.
Go ahead.
We watched as our open border really just hammered us away when it comes to national security. We watched as gang members came across our southern border. I don't know if you said much about that. We're watching right now in the state of Maryland, where I am, and they're now going to trial for Rachel Moran, a mother of 5 that was killed by an illegal immigrant. So yes, we also saw Chinese spy balloons going over our country, and nobody could say where they're coming from. So yes, this is about national security. And I will say, John Bolton, who's not very friendly with President Trump right now, he's been saying the same exact thing. And so I think that's where this concern is.
Greenland? Is that what you're saying?
Does it look like we're attacking Greenland?
The vice president said today that would not happen.
And the president said we need Greenland no matter what.
But hold on, this is what I want to say. So what was most amazing.
Yeah, he had to back away there. Because, yeah, okay, J.D. Vance said this. What about the president? Really? Are we supposed to take eyeliner Vance over Donald Trump? Like, and I have to comment on what she said there. This segment has nothing to do with illegal immigrants. And these stupid Chinese spy balloons, the same thing was found under Trump, and he had no idea about it, or no one talked about it. Like, these people like her are just mindless. This is the cult. They just repeat things that they see from their pundits over and over. They don't look into anything. Just mindless. Someone like her believes anything Trump says and believes everything he's ever done is right. Like, this whole, every time I hear this in the video, and no one in this panel pushes back on this whole illegal immigrant, violent, they committed this crime or whatever, when again illegal immigrants commit crime at a lower rate than Americans. She knows that, obviously. And as a black woman, I find it especially disgusting that she does that, and to ignore the parallels on how they've treated her people and speak of her people for hundreds of years. It's despicable and pathetic. I forgot her name. What was it? Kimberly, something like that. You can sound like them all you want. I'll say all the things they want to hear. And you will never be seen as equal on that side. And she knows that, which just makes this so much more egregious. And another thing about this, constantly, every time with this illegal immigrant stuff, this hurts legal Hispanics too. So Trump supporters out there, if you think this doesn't hurt you, it does. When they constantly show Hispanics, illegal immigrants, as violent, dangerous, constantly using those words and showing them their heads shaved off, do you think anything distinguishes you from them? When you're walking down the street, do you think someone can tell that you're legal or not? Do you think they care? And like, this illegal stuff has always been, you know, growing up, I grew up in the Bronx, whatever, it was rougher there, but you know, back then people were, you know, a little bit more whatever. And between harmless jabs between friends, they would say, oh, you're illegally here, right? Because you're Hispanic, whatever, funny. But this is different. This constantly associating them with just extra dangerous and violent. It's the same thing they've done with Middle Eastern people and terrorism. And again, for her to say these things, don't get me started on the all-out assaults. Just an all-out assault on black people from angles you wouldn't even think of. All to demonize and scare the population of black and brown people. And interesting how Republicans never seem to be afraid of anything white people do. It's pretty interesting, isn't that?
about what you said, Maria, is the movement from initially when President Trump floated this, everyone's hair was on fire. He wants Greenland. Why does he want Greenland? Oh my gosh, Greenland. Now we're like, oh, there's a strategic reason behind this because there's historical context. The fact that Harry Truman wanted to buy Greenland because he wanted a bulwark against the USSR. And you also have, you mentioned NATO. And I think that's a really, really important point here because Greenland wants independence from Denmark. The current prime minister wants independence. The opposition party that was just voted in 2 weeks ago also wants independence. They want it a little slower, but they want it as well. What happens then? Greenland doesn't have its own military. They are part of NATO now because they're a territory of Denmark. When independence happens, Greenland is a sitting duck. They're going to need a strong ally and who better than us.
Before we go on, this begs the question.
We're not asking to be their allies. We're asking them to take over, whether they like it or not. We're not asking to be allies. We're not trying to work with them.
There were 10,000 U.S. troops in Greenland in the 50s and 60s. Do you know how many there are now in the 2000s? While President Trump was the president the first time, about 150 to 200 active U.S. service members. So if it was so important, why didn't he do something by adding the number of troops back?
Well, that base is considered one of the most strategic military installations in the world.
So
and
why
a
are there
Danish
so few?
Nobody's arguing that. And like I said, there is a strategic reason. There are some national security interests. What I said I didn't understand, and I think it's idiotic and dumb and stupid, the way that this administration is going about it, is the way that they're going about it. They're making enemies out of our allies. And I will repeat, if he really wants to do this the smart way, he would go in there and invest and negotiate. Why do we have to go in there and take over Greenland? That's what he's doing. He's saber rattling. You can't tell me that he's not saber rattling when he says, the president, not the VP, the president says, we need Greenland. No matter what happens, we are going to take it over. And I'm sorry, right now, the people in Greenland have said they don't want to be associated with the United States. Mr. President, they said no. No means no.
All right, we will end it there.
Oh, no means no. That's a dig on Trump being a civilly held liable sexual rapist. Like, again, with this whole thing about Greenland, like, this is just gonna make it so that countries like China are gonna be, or countries like Canada or Mexico or Greenland are going to be more open to working with a country like China, because they're seeing clearly we're the aggressor. And then, like, what happens then? What if Canada decides to want to work with China? What are we going to go to war with Canada? And why would our allies help us? We treat them like garbage. Like, these guys are so stupid. And again, if we go into war, forget about the tariffs. If we go into war, what do you think that's going to do to our economy? Republicans out there, your grocery prices, how are they looking? This is just insane to me. I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please subscribe if you're not. It really helps the channel. And I'll catch you in the next one.